NFL Week 11 preview. Guys, this is going to be one of the best weekends of football all year. I am very much looking forward to Week 11. Started off with an NFC East game last night between the Commanders and Eagles, and I am glad that we finally have a rivalry between the Commanders and Eagles where both teams are competitive. I mean, obviously the Eagles have been competitive over the past, 6-7 years, and they've been one of the best franchises over that time, but the Commanders haven't, and I was really glad to see us, finally have a legit game, and I think the Eagles could have won a lot more than what it was, but it was glad to see these teams, go at each other, and we're going to break down every game this week. We're going to break down every game, and right now, per usual, just go ahead and tweeting out the live link. Let's go ahead and tweet this out here, and Week 11 preview is here. What's up? How we doing? Let's see. Can I say something nice about the Eagles for once? I think I'm pretty respectful towards the Eagles. That's a new one to me. The Eagles played a great game last night. They should have won by a lot more, and that's in part to how good they are. Quinyon Mitchell he's an animal. He's an animal. And they played a really good game. Saquon Barkley he's awesome, man. I mean, Saquon Barkley is just an absolute beast. I love Saquon. I'm really glad that we get to see this version of Saquon. Mallow, appreciate the super chat right off the bat. There we go. Let's LFG. Not going to say what that stands for, but I do very much appreciate the super chat. And how have I been? I've been doing good. But Mallow, hope you're doing good. Hopefully we're all, we're all doing good. Anyway, can I talk about the Eagles game? I'll obviously discuss it more during the week 11 recap Sunday night, but I have a lot of frustrations with Cliff Kingsbury last night. I mean, first off, Quinyon Mitchell, tremendous. I mean, he's a great corner, right? But if you are Cliff Kingsbury, why would you continuously line up Terry McLaurin against Quinyon Mitchell when Quinyon was clearly winning that matchup? Why would you continue to line him up and just say, all right, Terry, you're not winning these reps. Quinyon has you blanketed. Quinyon doesn't travel either. He plays left corner. Why? I just don't get it. I don't get or he plays right corner rather. Yeah, he plays right corner. Sorry. My point was, it was just like, why are you continuously matching Terry McLaurin up against Quinyon? I didn't understand that. I thought Cliff Kingsbury definitely set Jaden up to fail last night. But credit to the Eagles, man. They are a dominant team, and I think they are one of the best teams in the conference. Let's see here. Inexcusable that Terry had 2 targets. I would also say inexcusable for Cliff to set Jaden up to fail. But I was just really, really just annoyed with how that game was being called last night from a play calling perspective for the Commanders and their fans. All right, let's go ahead and go here, guys. First game, very good one here. It's definitely going to be an interesting game. I just want to pull up. I have all of the lines and everything so we can discuss what to expect, how many point favorites teams are. The first game we are going to discuss, let's go ahead and flash the logos on the screen here. We have we have the text, and then we have the Jags at Lions, and this is probably not going to be that close of a game. Let's just go ahead and call that what it is. The Lions are 13.5 point favorites. The Jags are coming off of a loss last week against the Vikings, in which they lost 12-7. That game was not very close. I will just be honest when I say that. The Vikings completely dominated that game. Sam Darnold threw 3 interceptions. Jared Goff also threw 5 interceptions on Sunday night. I would be very, very surprised if Goff throws, he may throw 1 off a tipped ball or something, but I'd be surprised if Goff has anywhere close to as bad of a game as he had last Sunday night. And even one of those interceptions was a Hail Mary. One was kind of like a tipped ball that it might have been a fumble if the defender didn't catch it midair, but Goff had at least 3 interceptions last week, not to excuse 5, but I just want to put some context with that. But I don't see any way how this game's going to be close. I really, really don't, especially with Trevor out. Mac Jones is going on the road. I don't know where you guys stand on this, but I don't think it should be a hot take to say the Lions are going to win by double digits, and Vegas has them as 13.5 point favorites. The Jags last week, 143 total yards of offense. Mac Jones obviously did not look good, as expected, and the Lions technically won. Not technically, they did win. Sorry, they did win. It was an ugly win. A win is, of course, a win. Never apologize for winning. But that win last week was one I'm sure that Dan Campbell was definitely not happy with at all. And they're going to preach, like they're going to preach, we got to clean up, we got to clean everything up. I think this is going to be a game this week where we are going to see both David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs get the football a lot. They're going to just big brother the Jags. They're going to pound the rock. And a couple of years ago, the Jags went to Detroit and the Lions beat them pretty handedly. It was also the game Trevor got hurt in Detroit a couple years ago, but the Jags were losing before Trevor got hurt. And I want to say the Lions, it was like 40-14 a couple of years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar in this game. The over-under for this game, 47 points. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions alone hit the over, because the Lions are going to be, I was going to say a word here, but they're going to be furious. They won last week, but they're guys, the Lions are a great team. They're not going to lose. This game's going to be one of the trenches, and I trust the Lions' trenches on both sides of the ball more than I trust the Jags. That's the big thing in this game. Let's see here. Would love my opinion on the Steelers game. We'll get there. I promise we'll get there. I'm going to need Gibbs to drop 25-plus fantasy after McLaurin delivered that stinker. Yeah, that was a tough one last night for Terry. I actually started Terry in fantasy as well, and I was pretty annoyed because of everything. Pretty sure Trevor is benched for injury. No reason to play hurt against the top 2 team. I agree. Lions win 35-7. I think it's going to be, four touchdowns is a lot. But I think the Lions are going to win by double digits. I really do. I think it's going to be whatever they want to kind of call the dogs off at. I think they can put up comfortably 30 points. I don't think the Jags are going to be able to put up more than 14. I also worry about Brian Thomas Jr. in this game because Brian did not fare well last week against the Vikings, not because the Vikings were absolutely clamping him by any means, but Mac can't push the football down the field the way Trevor can. The bottom line for this game, the Lions are a better team. The Jags do not have anywhere close to enough firepower to hang with the Lions. Lions by double digits, I think, rather easily. Let's go ahead and go to another game. Raiders, Dolphins, and this game here, Dolphins are 7.5-point favorites. I think this is an interesting game for sure for a couple of reasons. The Raiders are, as we know, obviously not a good team, and I don't think anybody would really deny that. They're 2-7 for a reason, but they are coming off of a bye week, and the Dolphins are coming off of a day short of rest, and they played a Monday night against the Rams, and I think it's also worth noting that they had to travel all the way back across the country. So in a league where rest and preparation is very, very important, the Dolphins probably didn't get in. That flight from LA to Miami is one of the longest flights in the country. Really, the only other longest flight you're going to have is LA to Boston, and then of course LA to Philly, LA to New York. You get the point, but it's a cross-country flight. So in a era where rest and everything is emphasized more than ever before, the Dolphins probably didn't get into Miami until probably 5 a.m. Tuesday morning, maybe 6 a.m. anyway. I just wanted to point that out. But the Dolphins have looked like a much better team since Tua came back. And I'll be honest here, I was really, really, really impressed with the Dolphins on Monday night against the Rams. I really thought they were going to get not bowled over, but I thought they were going to lose the game in the trenches, and the Dolphins pass rush came to life. Rookie Chop Robinson had a really good game. He had the best game of his career by far. And a little plug, I will have grading picks 17 through 32 out tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Be there. Chop Robinson's pick will be graded, and of course 15 other picks will be graded. But I really thought the Dolphins played a lot better against the Rams than I thought they were going to play. And the thing is, the Dolphins' season, as far as I'm concerned, is, over in the sense of them winning a Super Bowl, but they're obviously not going to think that internally. They're not just going to say, all right, well, we can't win, so let's just quit. Let's just coast, right? The Raiders, on the other hand, their coach probably going to get fired. I would imagine at season's end. They might be a 3-14 team, maybe a 4-13 team. Not a good team, obviously. The Dolphins are still fighting, and the Dolphins play the Raiders this week, and they play the Patriots next week. Not an easy game against the Patriots next week, but pretty quickly you can see how the Dolphins can be 5-6, and then they go to Green Bay, which would probably be a loss, but then they play the Jets, then they play the Texans, and the thing is if you can win one of the two of the Packers Texans, you're talking about a team that could be 7-7. So I am going to go with the Dolphins to win this one. I think the Dolphins are a better team. The one thing that I will say about the Dolphins that I am a little disappointed in, or at least I have been or at least I was Monday night rather, they're not as explosive in the run game as I would have thought. I want to say they're 29th in EPA per play running the football. I think that's where they are, and that's not where I would expected the 2024 Dolphins to be. But I am going to go with the Dolphins to win. Shout out Mike Mayer and Bowers. I want Michael Mayer to be good. I really liked him out of Notre Dame. Brock Bowers is, of course, having a tremendous season. But I think the Dolphins win. All right. Chris says Raiders plus 7.5 super lock. I am not going to say anything is a lock, although I will say DraftKings promo code analysis if you want to go. If you want to go get, deposit $5, get up to $200 in free bets. Nothing is a lock, of course, but I think the Dolphins are a better team than the Raiders. Like I don't think it's close to me, but that's just where I am. Let's see here. W channel, appreciate it, Tyler, appreciate it. Tua needs to stop using his head. That is one where I think we all agree on that. I mean, I can't really comment on that other than I think we all agree. Like, hey, Tua, don't use your head to tackle people if there's an interception. You just got paid $200 million, slide out of the way. I think we would all agree on that, especially Dolphins fans, but I mean, I can't sit here and say that. Let's see here. Are the Ravens winning the Super Bowl? Maybe. We'll see. All right. Let's see. Should I go with Stroud or Goff in fantasy? I think I'd go Stroud because I think there's a chance the Lions get up early, and I think the Lions running backs would go off more than I think Goff would. All right. Let's see here. How many years have I had this haircut? I actually got a haircut today. And I just kind of, get my once a month cut. Also scheduled the next cut Friday the 13th. So, I go get the hair long, and then I get the one on the sides, and then we get a little off the top. So a little while, like 4 or 5 years is how long I've probably had the same cut. But if you guys are enjoying, please drop a like. We're at 29 likes. Let's go ahead and get it up to 50, and then we have to discuss Rams Patriots. So let's go ahead and get up to 50 likes. Let's keep it rolling here. Do I think the Niners have any chance of competing with Eagles or Lions come playoff time? Yes. Competing? Yes, 100%. Do I think they're going to win on the road? Probably not, because they're down Brandon Ayuk and Javon Hargrave. That's a lot to overcome. 2 major starters. I'd say probably not beat, but they can definitely compete. All right, let's keep it going here. Cut looks good, by the way. Appreciate it. All right. Love the positivity, by the way. All right, Rams Patriots. Here we go. Rams, have to be honest, disappointed me Monday night. And I mean, really disappointed me, because I thought this team could really establish their dominance in the trenches against the Dolphins. Matt Stafford did not play well, but I would also like to add that he was under pressure a lot against the Dolphins, and the Rams did not have the combination along the offensive line. They had multiple guys that hadn't played since week 1 or week 2. Obviously, I think that will get better with time. And I do want to pull up a couple of stats from this game, or from the week 10 game for the Rams, to give you an idea of how much pressure Matt Stafford was under, because it wasn't great. Joe Noteboom gave up 6 pressures. Jonah Jackson allowed 3 pressures, and Kevin Dotson also allowed 3 pressures. It was not an ideal game for the Rams offensive line. And like I said, I was really disappointed with how the Rams played in the trenches. I thought it was going to be a lot more, just for lack of a better wording, I just thought it was going to be better than what we saw. They only had 70 rushing yards as a team, and I think that is going to try to change against the Patriots. The thing is the Rams are 4-5, and we're going to discuss this with the Rams. We're going to discuss this with a couple of teams later, but there's a couple of teams in the NFC West that straight up cannot afford to lose. The Patriots are 4.5-point dogs in this game. I think that's fair for where both teams are. Now, the Patriots did play a really good game last week in Chicago. They won 19-3. They played pretty good defense. Their defense played a part in the Bears firing offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. I thought they played pretty well as a team. Drake May is, of course, a very bright spot on what is a not great team. But to go back to the Rams for a minute, the NFC has several teams that are going to be competing for, at this point, given the Commanders are 7-4, the Vikings are 7-2. I would think that each team will get to 10 wins. I mean, we're in the middle of November. They each have 7 wins. The Vikings have only played 9 games. The Commanders have only played 11 games. And did that stream buff out for a second? Anyway, I'm going to keep going. And I would imagine that there's going to be probably 0 wildcard teams from the NFC West. And that is a problem for the Rams, the 49ers, and the Cardinals, because each team right now, the Cardinals are 6-4, the 49ers are 5-4, and the Rams are 4-5. So we are right now with the Rams, we are in territory where we can't afford to lose, because their next couple of games are at New England, home against the Eagles, which is going to be a great game on Sunday night, by the way, which I'm very much looking forward to, at New Orleans, home against Buffalo, at San Francisco. The Rams season, by no means, is over. However, I think it would effectively be over if they lose this game. So, in what is essentially a playoff game for Sean McVay, I am going to choose a Sean McVay team over a Gerard Mayo team with their season more or less effectively on the line. So I think the Rams are going to win. I look forward to seeing the continued progression of Drake May. Drake has obviously been a very bright spot for the Patriots, and I am comfortable saying that the Patriots, at this point, a couple of games into Drake May's career, they have, I don't want to say franchise quarterback like decade, but they have their guy for at least the next, I would say, 2 or 3 years. I feel way more confident about Drake May than I ever did with Mac Jones. And remember, Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler his rookie year. There was a point where Mac Jones looked like he was going to be the guy for a while, but I feel way more comfortable with Drake May than I ever did with Mac Jones. And I just think the Rams are a more talented team. I don't think they're going to lose back-to-back games to teams that, quite frankly, they shouldn't. So I'm going to go with the Rams win. I think it's going to be pretty close. One other thing to note is the Rams are on a short week like the Dolphins, and they have to travel the furthest distance you can for sports teams in the continental U.S. At least I think LA to Boston is further than Seattle, Miami. It's pretty close, I'm sure, but the point is very far on a short week for the Rams. I do want that to be noted also with the West Coast team playing in the early time zone. I just want that to be noted, and I'm still going to go with the Rams to win because it's essentially a playoff game for them. So let's go Browns Saints. This is certainly a game. Let's see here. What did Sebastian say? I saw somebody said, Sebastian, are you sure about that? All right. Let's see here. Has he covered the 49ers? I have not. No. There's no lagging. All right. Audio is going out. Is the audio going out? The stream froze while you were giving a kissy face. Is the stream fine? I mean, it still says there's a lot of people in here, so I think we're doing good. My guy, you're lagging. I can't help it. Let's see here. I think we're good. No, it's fine. Okay, AK, he's okay. We're good. I trust AK. He's a big time supporter of the channel. Appreciate it, AK. Stream's all good. All right, guys. A little announcement though. Quick announcement before we discuss Browns Saints. Very soon, be on the lookout. I will have a membership part of the channel coming up, so I will release that soon. And I know a lot of other YouTubers have membership, so I will have a membership coming up. I know there's been a lot of people that have asked about memberships, and we'll be debuting the memberships fairly soon. So I just want to keep you guys updated for that. All right, let's keep it rolling here. And like I said, if you guys are enjoying, please like, please subscribe. And we're closing in on 170. Hopefully we hit 170 by Thanksgiving. It'll be close, but we're getting there. Browns Saints, here we go. All right, the Saints are 1-point favorites. The Browns, I want to say, let's go ahead and pull up the Browns here, actually. Let's just pull their schedule up. I will say, Cedric Tillman has been a very nice surprise for the Browns over the past couple of weeks. Well, not last week, of course, because they were on a bye. But Cedric Tillman has been a pleasant surprise. I really like Cedric last year coming out of Tennessee in the draft process, and I'm really glad to see him finally have opportunities and for him to finally be the player that I thought he could be all along. And with the receiving room at the beginning of the year of Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, if he couldn't break out to be the wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 2 with Jeudy there, because I think Jeudy and Moore are similar players. I think they're Jags, just a guy. I don't think they're really anything special. Then I think the writing was going to be on the wall for Cedric, but I look for Cedric Tillman to have a really good game in this one. The Saints, of course, recently traded Marshawn Lattimore. The thing is the Saints last week won over the Falcons with interim coach Darren Rizzi, and the kind of, I'm a big believer in always having that interim head coach bump, but the reality for me is with the Saints, I'm not a big Saints believer. I don't think the roster is good. I don't think they're a good team. I also think they won last week, due in large part to the Falcons kind of losing the game. I mean, Younghoe Koo missed 3 field goals. The Falcons had, I want to say, a turnover on downs at the end of the game that they shouldn't have. It was just a really weird sequence for the Saints. But never apologize for beating your rival. I just think the Browns are a much better offense. The Saints, I think the Browns are simply going to outscore them. I don't trust Derek Carr against the Browns defense. I know the Browns have kind of, underachieved this year given that they are a 2-7 team. But the thing is the Browns are coming off of a 27-10 loss against the Chargers. They had a bye week. They are either going to, it's going to be one of two ways for the Browns. They are going to come out pissed off. Let's go. Let's, run through somebody's face, or the season's over. Let's just go ahead and coast. And I think it's going to be, I think one of the teams are going to win by 6+ points. I know the spread's only 1 point, but I think it's going to be a touchdown in either direction. If I had to choose, I would go with the Browns to win. I am a big Jameis fan. I hope that we get to see Jameis, Nick Chubb, Cedric Tillman all have big days against the Saints, especially for the sake of Nick Chubb, and hopefully he has a good game. Obviously, he came off a horrific injury, but I don't trust the Saints long-term, and that was kind of where I was heading into the year. They had a great 2-0 start. They won last week, and that was their first win since week 2. The interim coach, the bump is gone. I think the Browns are a more talented roster, and I am going to go with Cleveland to win this game. They're both straight garbage, says the truth. Let's see here. I don't think anyone is a Saints believer. Saints fans will come in every year we do the Saints team preview, and I will be told that when I say that the Saints they need to rebuild, that they are not a good team, they're an okay team, not a good team, that they're going to finish 8-9. I'll have Saints fans every year tell me that, you don't know ball, you don't know this team, they're going to be good, and I'm just kind of like, what team are we watching? What is the difference here? Now, in terms of headlines here, this is one of the most both of these teams have been in the headlines for really all the wrong reasons this year on both sides. The Colts are 4-6, and they recently went back to Anthony Richardson to be their starting quarterback. This is just a mess all around. The Colts have 33 total points in the last 2 games combined. They predictably did not play well under Joe Flacco, although I will say that Jonathan Taylor averages he's a lot better when Anthony Richardson plays, and that's obviously due in large part to the threat of having AR and the, hey, we have to account for both players, and the defenses simply can't account for not that they can't, but it's a lot harder to account for both Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor than it is Joe Flacco and Jonathan Taylor as a threat out of the backfield. Although, credit Jonathan Taylor, he had 114 rushing yards last week. My point is, I think there's a very real chance that the Colts go into this game, at least I hope this is the game plan, because the Jets have trouble tackling, they've had a lot of trouble defensively, and the Jets have really underperformed this year, not just with Aaron Rodgers and all of that, but they have underperformed in a big way in the rushing defense. They are 25th in rushing yards allowed, they are 29th in rushing attempts against, and it's because teams would rather run the ball, knowing they can run the ball against them, than try and go through the air. The Jets are actually second in opposing passing yards allowed. But, guys, if I'm Shane Steichen in this game, and I don't know why head coaches do this at times, it's really, really frustrating with play callers. We saw it with Cliff Kingsbury last night, where there's something that it seems so clear, but they never do it. Like Cliff Kingsbury last night kept lining Terry McLaurin up on the left side of the formation when Quinyon Mitchell was clearly there. He should have just pushed him to the other side, flipped the play. Hey, Terry, go out here so you're not against an elite rookie corner. My point is, the game plan for the Colts should be very simple. Just run the ball. I don't care if Anthony Richardson goes 6 of 22. Just run the ball. That's the game plan. That is the game plan. Run the ball until the Jets prove they can stop you. They allowed 147 rushing yards last week on the ground. They have allowed over 100 yards or more in every game since week 5. Their last 5 games, the Jets have allowed 149 yards, 149 yards, 112 yards, 187 yards, and 147 yards on the ground. Indy's game plan, simple. You have one of the most athletic / unique weapons at quarterback in NFL history in Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor is a very good running back. You have a really solid running, offensive line, a road grading offensive line. Run the ball. And I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. For reference here, I want to go ahead and look at the spread for this game. Jets are favored by 4. Over-under is 44. I'm going to be honest here, guys. Man, it's tough to pick Anthony Richardson on the road to win. Oh, this is tough. I want to do it. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to say Colts 20-17. It is going to be an ugly game. It is going to be an ugly game. Colts 20-17 is my pick, under the belief that they run the ball and run the ball and run the ball, because that's how you're going to beat this team. And the Jets, there's not a lot to say here that we don't already either think or know. I would imagine that all of us, feel the same way. They have been a very just disappointing team. They have one game with 400 yards or more of offense this year, and they had 400 on the dot, which was all the way back in week 3 against the Patriots. That is really the only, well, maybe the Texans game on Thursday night, but that is one of like 2 games all year where they looked competent. And I can't bet on the Jets to win, or not bet on the Jets, but predict the Jets to win with this team looking the way that it is. So that's, I'm going Colts to win here. I'm going Colts to win. Let me know what you think in the comments, by the way. Let me know what you think in the comments. The Truth says AR going to have stats like 12 of 30, 3 touchdowns, 190 yards passing. That's about right. But I do want to go ahead and address Super Chat here. Justin Ziegler, appreciate the support. Thoughts on Mitchell this season so far? Seeing him lock down every top receiver probably makes him reverse favor for Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'll say this here. I would have no problem if Quinyon was the Rookie of the Year. I would have no problem with that. What I want to say is the voters generally favor pass rushers. So what I will say is I don't think Quinyon will win Defensive Rookie of the Year unless he gets 2 or 3 interceptions, which is going to be a problem for Quinyon because they literally don't throw at him. I would have no problem with him winning the Rookie of the Year, but I think Jared Verse will win the Rookie of the Year right now because Verse is like top 5 in the NFL in pressures. He's probably going to finish the year, probably 70 pressures, probably 11 or 12 sacks, which is a very, very good rookie year. But unless Quinyon snags probably 2 or 3 interceptions, I don't think he's going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And that's not my vote. I'm just saying how the voters generally go. All right, let's see here. Famous last words. Appreciate the super chat as well. Why are the Raiders starting Minshew when the season is over? We should elevate our rookie Carter Bradley to the roster to see if he has anything. So here's the problem with that like specific situation with Gardner Minshew. The problem is it's easy for us to say, well, they should do this, they should do that. And the thing is Antonio Pierce is still coaching for his job. So as much as you want to say like, hey, like let's have Carter Bradley, let's see what he has. He played at South Alabama last year and he's a 24-year-old rookie. The thing is it's easy to say that when your job is not on the line. Now I know Antonio Pierce played in the league. I know he made millions while playing. I know he's making however many millions right now. It's just his job is on the line. That is what it boils down to. I'm obviously not a fan of Gardner Minshew. I don't think he is a good player by any means. But that's what it boils down to is business. It's money, business, and unless Mark Davis, who is obviously Antonio Pierce's boss, says go play Carter Bradley, go play anybody, Gardner will probably continue to start. And I know Desmond Ridder has been in the discussions, which that's kind of a problem as well. But that's what it boils down to. All right, let's get it rolling here. Let's keep it going. All right, can't deny Gardner has a good mustache. Good mustache, not good NFL player. Yes, I will say that. All right, Vikings Titans. Here we go. All right, the Vikings are 6-point favorites on the road. They're 7-2. We have an inverse record here. Vikings are 7-2. Wait. Vikings are 7-2. Titans are 2-7. So we have an inverse record here. Minnesota last week won 12-7 at the Jags, and the Titans again they are 2-7. And they lost to the Chargers on the road 27-17. I would argue both scores for the opposite reasons were not as close as they would suggest. The Vikings had like 82 plays last week to the Jags 43. The Vikings ran 60 plus plays in the Jags territory. The only reason that I think this game would be remotely close is if Sam Darnold throws 2 or 3 interceptions again and throws multiple red zone interceptions, and there was 2 plays last week where Justin Jefferson could have had a multi-touchdown game, and Sam underthrew a corner route by at least a yard. I mean, Jefferson was looking for the ball out here, and Darnold threw it kind of like back here. It was just a terrible throw. And then there was a ball where he forced across the middle in the red zone, and it was another interception. Not good last week for Sam Darnold, and the Vikings narrowly escaped with a win. Again, never apologize for a win, but it was a lot closer than it ever should have been. And the Titans lost, only by 10 points to the Chargers. That game was not close at all. The Titans had a pretty impressive first drive. Then they only scored 3 points in the remaining 52 minutes before scoring a touchdown with 40 seconds left. That was not a close game either. The thing is here, you guys know I'm a Vikings fan. I try not to be biased, as unbiased as I can, but the Vikings are a better team, and the only thing that's going to keep this close is turnovers. I mean, the Titans are not a good team. I think they are teetering on territory where their coach is going to get fired. I mean, there's a chance that this team finishes maybe 4-13. Obviously, we know they're not a great team. They're not a good team. The Vikings, on the other hand, know this is a game they have to win. Kevin O'Connell is a really good head coach, and when it comes down to it, I simply ask the question, who are you going to trust more? A Kevin O'Connell-led team that is also more talented, or a Brian Callahan-led team whose team is reeling and is not as talented? I think that's what it boils down to for me. And like I said, the only way that I think this is close is if Sam Darnold throws the Vikings out of a game. That's where I stand on that. I don't think that should be too hot of a take. That's kind of where I stand on that. Good call on the ghost emoji there, Amstel, but that's where I stand on that. I feel like there's just not a lot to say about this game because Will Levis against a Brian Flores defense. He played against a Jesse Minter defense last week, and Will fared better than I thought. I will credit where it's due, but I just don't think it's going to end well for the Titans. I could be wrong. Hopefully, for my team's sake, I'm not wrong, but I think the Vikings are going to win. I think it's going to be 24-17, and the last time the Vikings were in Nashville, they had a defensive touchdown. It was back in 2016, and they won. So hopefully that continues, and the Vikings improved to 8-2. All right, game of the week for some, not for some. Well, it'll be an interesting game. All right, let's see. As bad as the Raiders are, at least we are not the Bears or Titans. We at least have a future. Those are famous last words. They're famous last words. I don't know, man. I will say the Raiders just frustrate me just on decisions that they make that they just frustrate me. Let's see here. The Bears have a future. I would agree with that, by the way. All right. Watch that dreadful game. Let's see here. The Titans have no idea what they're doing. Malik Willis just needed time. King Henry could still be there. I think what summarized the Titans' past few years the best is when Vrabel was clearly mad when they traded A.J. Brown and hoped that Treylon Burks would replace him, because seeing the Vikings replace Stephon Diggs seamlessly with Justin Jefferson is so much easier said than done. And even that required a team to pass on Justin Jefferson, because if not, I don't think the Vikings would have taken Jalen Reagor. I think they would have taken either Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins. Probably Brandon Ayuk. I don't think many teams would have taken Reagor in the first round. But even that, it required a lot just for that. All right, Baltimore has more to prove versus Pittsburgh given recent record. We'll get to that. That game, little spoiler, is actually next. That game is actually next. But we'll get to that in a second. Although I think I would agree with that. And by the way, appreciate the super chat, Bear Pod, and appreciate the super chat as well, Taylor. Do you think the winner of Pitt versus Baltimore decides the division? I would say no, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's go ahead and discuss. Let's discuss Packers Bears. Guys, I have to be honest. This is a tough situation here. This is a really tough situation here. Shout out anybody that said before the year that the Bears are going to stink. They are, not going to be good. They can ruin Caleb. All of that. Shout out you guys, because you guys called it. I at least thought the situation would be fine for Caleb. I didn't think it would be this bad this fast. I am really disappointed with the entire situation. And guys, the Packers have not lost to the Bears ever under Matt LaFleur. I don't think that's going to change in this game. This is all the workings of a game where the Packers can win by 14 plus points on the road, which they did last year in Soldier Field. And the Bears have never fired a head coach midseason, but I think there is a real chance, if they lose this game in an embarrassing fashion, which I think is a strong possibility, that Matt Eberflus could be gone Monday morning. This has whenever you have the makings of a bad storm, this is it for the Bears, because this is more or less their not season, because I don't think they're going to really do anything anyway. I mean, at most maybe win 8 games. But this is really everything for them this year. Like, if they are going to fight or if they're going to sink and go down with the ship. And they have the Packers coming off a bye. They have a team that's going to go to the playoffs. I will say that. I don't think that should be a hot take. And they are reeling. They just fired their offensive coordinator. They look like a complete and utter disaster. They have put up just 12 total points in the last 2 games. And they're playing a team that they haven't beaten 5 years. I think the Packers win by double digits. And I don't think it's close. And I think for the first time in Bears franchise history, they fire a head coach middle of the season Monday. That is where I stand on this game. All right. Packers win on Jair pick 6. I don't think it's going to be, maybe that happens in the first quarter and that's when the game's over. I don't think it's going to be close. Like, I don't think this game is going to be close at all. Let's see here. Caleb is another Trubisky. Let's see here. His famous last words. Appreciate the super chat. To clarify my words, the Titans and Bears have both found their quarterback and regressed immediately. The Raiders have no quarterback, so we know what we need to do. That's fair. That is fair. And I definitely understand what you're saying. The Titans are that's just a weird situation, man. That's just a weird situation. I'll say that. I respected everything that they did this offseason in terms of trying to help out Will Levis and everything. The Bears is just a disaster. They never have the timing right where they have the head coach in the first year, the quarterback in the first year, and it's just a disaster. Matt Eberflus is not a good coach. He wasn't a good coach heading into this year. It was entirely selling on, hey, we held opponents to 93 points in the final 6 games of last year. Hopefully that translates, and hopefully Shane Waldron leads us to a better offense than we had last year with Luke Getsy. I will agree with you on that, though. The Bears' situation right now is just a disaster. Fire the Flus, says Amstel. I would agree with that. And I will say, by the way, if you guys are enjoying, please drop a like. We're at 77 likes. Let's get it up to 100. Let's get it up to 100, guys. Let's have quarter of the chat. Let's drop a like. Appreciate everyone being in here. And we have one of my favorite games of the year, every year. Ravens at Steelers. As you guys probably know, I've mentioned it before. If you don't know, I do live in Maryland. I live right in between Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I look forward to this game every year. And there were a couple super chats earlier. Appreciate the like, David. I want to go ahead. Do I think the winner of Pitt and Baltimore decides the division? I would say no, because they're obviously going to meet again. And the Steelers have a pretty tough schedule coming up. Not to say the Ravens don't, but here's the Steelers' schedule after this game. At Cleveland, at Cincy, home against Cleveland, at Philly, at Baltimore, home against Kansas City, and then home against Cincinnati. So if the Ravens were to lose this game, I don't think it's season over by any means, because of how difficult the Steelers' schedule is. And they also get to play them again, and they also get to play them at M&T. The Ravens' schedule, on the other hand, not to say that it's easy because it's not, but they play at the Chargers, home against the Eagles, bye week. They have a week 14 bye. They go to at the Giants, off the bye. I can't imagine they lose that one. Home against the Steelers, at the Texans, and then home against the Browns. So the Ravens have a much, much more favorable schedule down the stretch. So, Taylor, to go back to your super chat, I would say, no, I don't think the winner of this decides the division either side. And then Baltimore has more to prove versus Pittsburgh, given the recent record, was another super chat from BearPod. I would say the Ravens do have a little more to prove in this game. I would say they do. They are 7-3. They are coming off of a big win on Thursday night, which was it was a really, really good game against the Bengals last week, 35-34. But this is one of my favorite matchups of the year because we get Harbaugh, we get Tomlin. You know this game is going to be close. And to give you an idea of how close Vegas thinks it's going to be, they have the Steelers as 3-point dogs, over under 48.5. And I think however you feel, whether you think the Ravens or Steelers are going to win, I think you can be justified either way. It is worth noting both teams have a big player out. The Steelers have Alex Highsmith out. His dad, Sam Highsmith, tweeted that it's probably going to be like a 2 or 3 week injury and that like a major injury was avoided. If you guys saw Highsmith last week, he rolled his ankle really bad. I mean, it was like one of those ones where like you the ankle off the blacktop, like one of those, or you know what I'm talking about, like one of those, like the ankle off the edge of the blacktop. That's what it looked like. It was not pretty, but he didn't like break anything, and they said it's going to be a couple week injury. Let's keep it going here. And the Ravens also have Kyle Hamilton out. So I want to go ahead and pull up the Ravens-Steelers history. And I will say, guys, this is my personal favorite rivalry in football. Like I said, I live in between. I have countless Steelers fans, friends. I have countless Ravens fans, friends. This is the definition of football. And the Steelers have won a lot recently against the Ravens. Since 2020, they have won 7 of the last 8. The only one the Ravens won was a 16-14 game back in December of 2022, and Lamar has not fared well against the Steelers over the past several years. The Kyle Hamilton is expected to play, says Caliche, but Steelers are 3-point dogs. I have been a little out on the Steelers at points this year, and they won last week against the Commanders off their bye. I think George Pickens has a big day. We saw him have that big touchdown against Marlon Humphrey last year with Kenny Pickett as his quarterback as time expired. The Ravens generally have weird things happen to them when they play in Pittsburgh, whether it's a weird fumble, whether it's receivers drop 7 passes, whether it's something. It always seems to be that the Ravens encounter the, not ghosts, but just the yips or something in Acrisure Stadium. Shout out Heinz Field for people that want to say Heinz Field. They always encounter something at Heinz Field, whatever the case may be. Steelers are 3-point dogs. I'm taking the Steelers 24-20. Going to be a great game, and by far the game that I am looking most forward to this week, and I'm going with the Steelers to win. I'm going with the Steelers to win. Drop what you guys think. I'm going to see what the chat thinks, but I think the Steelers improved to 8-2. This is a huge, huge game for both teams, and we get the Steelers on Thursday night at Cleveland, which is certainly not going to be an easy game. I mean, they have one of the hardest hitting games they'll have all year on Sunday against the Ravens, and then they play 4 days later. There's no doubt that they are going to be incredibly sore heading into that game against Cleveland, and I think that this game is almost, I don't want to say can't lose, because at worst they would be a 7-3 team, but this is a game, if you're the Steelers, you definitely do not want to drop knowing what's 4 days away. We have the chat pretty split. I know my guy Sammy is an OG supporter. He's like messaged me all the way back at like 2020, so he's no doubt a Steelers fan, picking the Steelers to win. Savala says Steelers typically beat the Ravens. Let's keep it going here. What other comments do we have? AK says I think the Steelers win. I'm picking the dogs. I'm picking the underdogs in this one. Steelers over the Ravens. All right. Ravens 27-20. As a Ravens fan, I respect admitting the bias. I respect that. Lamar Jackson undefeated in the regular season after losing to the Browns in 2019 and 23. That's a good call out because the Ravens won 12 games heading into that postseason that year. That's a good call out. That is a really, I mean, it's only been a couple of games since the Browns game, but that's actually really, really cool to note. And we'll obviously keep track of that as the season goes on. All right, Falcons 6-4, and the Broncos are 5-5 after a brutal loss last week to the Chiefs. Let me take a sip here. Hold on. Gotta stay hydrated, fellas. Gotta stay hydrated. All right. We have Falcons, Broncos, and the Falcons last week, they lost to the Saints. It was just a very tough game to lose. Actually, both teams suffered really, really just tough losses last week. The Falcons, as we know, lost 20-17, and the Broncos are 2-point favorites, over under 44 points. The Broncos defense has, of course, been one of the best all year. We're not going to mention the other game that they played a couple weeks ago against the Ravens, but guys, this is going to be a tough game for the Falcons to go out to Denver and win. You have a Denver team whose season is kind of, I don't want to say on the line, but their playoff chances in terms of being a wild card team are slim if they lose this game. Now, they definitely have some winnable games down the stretch. They after this game against the Falcons, they play at the Raiders, which they can win. They then play the Browns at home, which they can also win. Then they have a bye. Then home against the Colts, which they can win. But their last 3 games are at the Chargers, at the Bengals, and home against the Chiefs. So the difference between 6-5 and 5-6 for the Broncos is huge. And the Broncos are 2-point favorites. It's a lot more difficult to play in Denver than people realize. The Broncos defense has allowed more than 20 points just twice since back in week 1, which of course was the Ravens game. And then they allowed 23 points to the Chargers. But even within that Chargers game back in week 6, they allowed the Chargers, it was like 14-0, I'm going to say, pretty quick. And then they tightened down. And I don't trust the Falcons defense the way that I trust the Broncos defense. And the Falcons last week, 468 yards of offense, 17 points. Now, I know Younghoe Koo missed 3 field goals, but guys, the Broncos defense is legit. And I'm going to take a great defense with a very large home field advantage, especially with the altitude. And the fact that Atlanta can technically, they can afford to lose a lot more than the Broncos. And I think when you look at terms of desperation as to where the season is, the Broncos cannot afford to fall to 5-6. They can't afford to fall to 5-6. Atlanta, on the other hand, has a 2-game division lead. And not to say they're coasting, because I don't want that to be the case, but Atlanta's not going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So I'm going to go with Denver here. I'm going to go with Denver. I think it's going to be a very close one. Definitely a low-scoring game. And I've been impressed with Bo Nix for the most part this year, considering his supporting cast is not the best. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I trust their defense a lot more than I trust the Falcons' defense, and especially with the loss that they had last week, I think they're going to have a point to prove, and I'm going to go with the Broncos to win this one. Let me know what you got. Where do you guys actually stand on this one? Where do you guys stand on this one? I am curious with this. Bijan and Algier will have a big game. That's the thing with Atlanta, where if I were the play caller for the Falcons, I would just hand it to those guys every single game and just say, all right, stop us until somebody proved they could stop us. That would be my game plan every week. But I am eager to see who do you guys have between the Falcons and Broncos. Bo is better than I thought. Let's see here. Let's keep it going here. Cousins can still ball. I agree with that. All right. Let's see here. Sean Payton is a menace to the Falcons. That would also be awesome because Sean Payton obviously hates the Falcons. All right, Broncos stomped the Falcons. All right, let's keep it going. Seahawks, 49ers. Seahawks are 4-5 on the year. 49ers are 5-4 on the year. And the Seahawks are, this is worth noting, they are coming off of a bye. I think it is also worth noting that they headed into the bye with that tough loss to the Rams a couple weeks ago, when Stafford and company walked off. The 49ers won last week 23-20. It was what I would say was a pretty lucky win, all things considered. I thought lucky's not the right word, I will say fortunate win. It was a game where they kind of messed around and gave the Bucs every opportunity to win that game, but they ultimately prevailed. They're now 5-4. The 49ers are 6.5-point favorites. They beat the Seahawks pretty handedly a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, 36-24. And I don't know if there's going to be a wild card from the NFC West, because at this point, I think the wild cards are going to be Washington, Minnesota, and Green Bay. And for me, when I look at this game, when it comes down to hell or high water, I am going to trust Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers body of work more than I trust. Hold on here. Give me 1 second. Here. All right, there we go. All right, I'm going to trust Kyle Shanahan and company more than I'm going to trust Mike McDonald in their first year. Now, I think the Seahawks are going to be a viable opponent in the years to come, and I think they're going to be a very good rival to the 49ers, but I'm going to trust the 49ers in this one. 6.5, I feel like, is a little much, because I think the Seahawks are a really talented team. I think it's going to be closer, but the 49ers have absolutely had the Seahawks number over the past couple of years. And to give you an idea of how one-sided this rivalry has been, I want to just go ahead and pull this up here. Like we said earlier, the 49ers won 36-24 earlier this year, and they have not lost to the Seahawks since all the way back in December of 2021. I think they're going to go for a third straight season sweep. And I'm going with the 49ers to improve to 6-4. All right, here we go. Chiefs, Bills. All right. As a Seahawks fan, we will lose this game. The only chance we have is that Moody forgets how to kick again. Brock will only get better. I'm a big Brock guy. I do like Brock Purdy. Let's keep it going here. Abe Lucas will save the Seahawks season. That's a lot. That's a lot to say. I respect the passion, but that's a lot. Here we go. Chiefs, Bills. Vegas has the Bills as 2.5-point favorites. Over under 46. It was ruled, or it was not ruled. It was announced today. Dalton Kincaid out in this game. A lot of people are obviously looking forward to this one. Lance says, I wonder what penalty the Chiefs win this one with. Lance's words, not mine. So, here we go. Chiefs-Bills. Chiefs last week won on just the most crazy finish you will ever see. One of the most crazy. This is just an insane Chiefs win that, I'll be honest, my Minnesota Vikings would never win a game like that. That is a game that just would not happen to my team. But the Chiefs are 9-0. The Bills are 8-2. The Bills are coming off of a 30-20 win against the Colts, in which I thought they looked pretty solid. They also beat the Dolphins a week before that, 30-27. The Bills have not lost since their 2-game hiccup between the Ravens and Texans all the way back in week 5. Both teams are very hot. The Chiefs, over the past couple of weeks, have flirted with losing. And I'll be honest with you guys, I think they lose their first one this week. I think the Bills are going to win. The Bills have had their number in the regular season. Now, obviously, Chiefs fans, you should rightfully talk about the postseason. I mean, those are the ones that matter. But the Bills have had their number in the regular season. Buffalo is a very tough place to play. Yes, I know the Chiefs won their last year in the postseason when it mattered. But I would also argue that I think the Chiefs losing a game at this point, instead of winning in the manner they have, where, they win 16-14 over the Broncos, they win in overtime, they squeak win out against the Bucs. They just have won in a lot of funky ways recently. I think the Bills are going to win this one, and I think it will prove to be the best thing that could happen to the Chiefs in the long run. And the Bills being able to improve to 9-2 through 11 games, while it technically wouldn't wrap up the division, I mean, it might as well wrap up the division. That division's kind of been wrapped up since like week 6 or week 7. I think the Bills are going to win this game. Obviously, we know this game is extremely important to Buffalo. And the reality is, the number 1 seed for the Bills is not out of the equation, especially with how the Chiefs have been playing. And it's also not out of the equation for a team like Baltimore or even Pittsburgh either. So, with the 1 seed potentially on the line, with the Bills at home, with the support of Bills Mafia, tough place to play, I'm going to go with the Bills to win. And the thing is Dalton Kincaid, while he is out, he hasn't been a big part of the offense this year. He's kind of been disappointing, but that's another thing. But I am going to go with the Bills to win. All right, and I want to hear, where do you guys stand on this? Where do you guys stand on this? Knox might score. Where do you guys stand? Comment right now. Bills, Chiefs. I'm going Bills. I'm going to comment. I think the Bills are going to win. Please let me know what you think in the chat. I'm going Bills to win. All right. The Chiefs quietly got Juju back. Let's see here. Chiefs don't hate winners. I don't think I was hating. I think I was having a reasonable conversation. 52-20 Bills. I definitely don't think they're going to win by 32 points by any means. Let's see here. Bills 24, Chiefs 17. Chiefs, no discussion. Don't overthink. I think it's a discussion. I mean, Vegas has the Bills as a favorite for a reason. I'll just say that. Bills, a lot more, I would say more Bills than Chiefs. You mean Bills versus refs, says Tristan? First time I've been able to make one of your lives. Love your content. Appreciate that, Logan. Hopefully you are enjoying. Hopefully everybody is enjoying. And if you are enjoying, please drop a like. Helps the channel tremendously. And by the way, if you guys are, if anybody is going to a game this weekend, I know people will comment, or people will go to games and then comment on the recaps after, like, hey, I went to this game today. If you guys are going to a game, you don't have tickets yet, I recommend the Game Time app. You get $20 off your first purchase using promo code analysis. So if you are going to a game, if you are going to it doesn't have to be a game this weekend. It could be a basketball game. It could be a concert. Game Time app, promo code analysis. If you guys want to get $20 off your first purchase. All right, here we go. Bengals, Chargers. All right, let's see here. Let's keep it going. Bengals, Chargers. All right. The Bengals, obviously, a very, very tough loss last week. They are 4-6, headed to the Bolt game. That's actually awesome. I want to make it out to SoFi so bad. I will at some point. We will get to that point where I'll be able to travel for 4 games and then be able to, like have like a vlog similar to a vlog. But right now we're too busy working on the recaps on Sundays to go to games. I actually haven't been to a game in a while, to be honest, because the weekly recaps take priority over games right now. But I'm happy for you, and I will make it out to SoFi at some point. Here we go. Bengals Chargers though. Bengals lost last week 35-34. They actually have lost 2 of their last 3. They lost in week 8 to the Eagles 37-17, and sandwiched in between the Eagles and Ravens loss was a throttling of the Raiders 41-24, in which Joe Burrow threw 5 touchdowns. This game between the Bengals and Chargers is going to be nothing like the Bengals-Ravens game last week. The Chargers are 1.5 favorites. The Chargers are 6-3 on the year, and we are at the point where people are not doubting the Chargers, that's not the right word, but they're starting to question, okay, well, let's look at the Chargers' wins. Since their bye week, they beat the Broncos, they beat the Saints, they beat the Browns, and they beat the Titans. And even prior to the bye week, they beat the Raiders and Panthers. Their losses, on the other hand, are to the Steelers. They had, like, Herbert, Slater, and Bosa all go out in that game. That's worth noting. They lost to the Chiefs, and they lost to the Cardinals on the road. This is a big game for the Chargers, because if they lose this game, they play the Ravens next week in the Har Bowl, then they go to Atlanta, and then they go to Kansas City. And this could start to spiral for the Chargers if they lose this game. But this is also very much a playoff game for the Bengals, because the Bengals would have 7 losses. And as we know, 7 losses, it's almost a death sentence in terms of, if you want to go to the postseason. And the Bengals schedule after this is obviously not the easiest. They have a bye, then they play Pittsburgh, at Dallas, at Tennessee, home against the Browns, home against the Broncos, at the Steelers. I would imagine the Bengals split the Steelers. I don't think they're going to get swept. I'd imagine they at minimum split. This is very much a playoff game for the Bengals. They're coming off a mini bye. I love Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator. I think he is tremendous at what he does. But in what's essentially a playoff game for the Bengals, I am going to go with Cincy to win. I think the Bengals defense I think they're going to step up. I know that's going to be crazy to say, but I think they're going to step up, and I'm going to go with the Bengals on the road. As much as it pains me to say, you guys know I'm a big Justin Herbert fan, but I do think the Bengals are going to win because it's a playoff game for them. If they fall to 4-7 heading into their bye, everyone would know they're done. So I think the Bengals are going to win. Actually, I'm more curious, where do you guys stand on this? Who do you guys think wins this one? Who do you guys think wins this one? I feel like Cincy should win, but will find a way to lose. If they find a way to lose this one and go to 7 losses with the year that Joe and Jamar are having, and even Trey Hendrickson as well, I think Zach Taylor's gone at the end of the year. Maybe before that. Chargers 24-21. They have more to play for. That's why I agree with that. Bolts all the way. I want to say Bengals, but this defense is bipolar. Chargers defense will be elite. I agree with that. Charlotte says, my Bolts are winning by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I hope so. Unfortunately, this game will not be in the weekly recap, as you guys know. But let's see here. The question is, do you trust Jim Harbaugh or Zach Taylor more? So I definitely trust Jim Harbaugh more, and that's a completely valid question because I will use that reasoning in terms of in close games like Sean McVay or Gerard Mayo or Kevin O'Connell or Brian Callahan like we discussed earlier. But this is not a Super Bowl, obviously, but it's not far off. I mean, it's a do or die game for the Bengals because if they lose this, see ya, they're done. So that's why I'm going to go with the Bengals. All right, let's see here. Do you have the feeling that your team could lose, but your loyalty goes through? It's that how wait. Do you have a feeling that your team could lose, but your loyalty goes through it? That's how I feel with the Ravens. I don't really ever head into a game with the Vikings where I think like we are for sure 100% winning. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I've been hurt too many times as a Vikings fan where I think there's definitely games like I thought last week against Mac Jones. I was going to be surprised if we lost. I thought we were going to win, but I wasn't like, let me throw down an enormous amount of money because we're going to win. No, never. I would never feel that way about the Vikings. Maybe if you're a Chiefs fan, you can feel that way because the Chiefs are going to win 80% of their games, but I don't feel that way personally. All right, let's see here. They should flex Indy and Jets back to primetime. They should not do that. All right, here we go. Texans, Cowboys. All right, Cowboys are a touchdown underdog. No Dak Prescott. the Cowboys had a nightmare of weeks. They asked Jerry Jones last week about the sun post-game, and they were talking about, or they were asking Jerry if he knew where the sun was located when he built the stadium, because CD didn't catch the one touchdown because the ball was right in the sun. That summarizes the 2024 Cowboys. The Texans, guys, if there has ever been a game, and I am so serious, if there has ever been a game where a team is just flat out just pissed off heading in because of how they lost last week, it is this game. The Texans created 5 turnovers last week against the Lions, and they lost. And now, and if you want to say, well, they one was a Hail Mary and they didn't actually get the ball after that, fine, whatever. The point is, they had 4 other turnovers to just put the ball in the end zone, put the ball in field goal position, and they lost. I would be flat out shocked if the Texans lose this game, because this is a game where I think they have a chance to run it up. They're favored by 7 points. If I am DeMeco Ryans, I'm showing the defense the tape last week, how well they did, and just basically saying, and you guys still lost. Take it out on the Cowboys this week. And I'm also showing the offense that too. Like, equally, I'm showing both sides of the football. How do you guys force 4 turnovers, put up 0 points in the second half, blow a double-digit lead in a game where you force 5 turnovers and lose? I don't have a lot to say for the Cowboys. I would imagine we all feel the same way. They're not a good team. Their coach is all but fired. He's going to be gone at season's end. Micah Parsons said this week that Mike McCarthy hasn't put in the time and effort that other players have, like Zach Martin, for example. It's a mess. It is one of the messiest situations in football. Their owner he's Jerry. The Texans are going to win by a lot. Texans win 31-10. Texans are not that good. I don't think it's that they're not that good. It's just the Cowboys are awful. I mean, they're truly an awful football team. They are, and by the way, Adam Schefter, we discussed this earlier. The Jags officially rule out Trevor Lawrence and Tank Bigsby for Sunday's game. So the Lions are going to win that game by double digits. I think the Texans win this game by at least a touchdown, if not more. I have several Cowboys friends that wanted this game to get flexed out on Monday night because they know it's going to be ugly. It's also kind of a cool game. We don't get this game often because it's for the state of Texas. So that's also interesting, little factoid about this game, or interesting, not stat, but part of the game. Texans are going to win, guys. I just don't see a scenario where the Cowboys simply put up more points than the Texans unless they have 4 or 5 turnovers themselves, which I don't think is going to happen. I just think the Texans are going to win. Cowboys 27, Texans 13. As a Colts fan, I am manifesting the Cowboys winning. It would be funny. Good luck with that one. I'll just say good luck. Teddy, Cowboys 27, Texans 13. Stroud slumping. Stroud is not... the expectations for CJ entering this year were never going to be fair. Because of the year he had last year, because they added Stephon Diggs this offseason, it was always going to be kind of like MVP or bust. So slumping is strong, but I would say the expectations were never going to be fair for CJ. Jerry should rip up Dak's contract and fire him. It unfortunately doesn't work like that. Let's see. Cowboys fans as delusional as ever. Teddy, I do like the optimism here. This is for Teddy, who said Jerry Jones has a plan. Trust. Teddy, I would ask, is it the Cowboys' year? And Teddy, please comment, can you guys still win the Super Bowl this year? Because if you actually believe that, then I respect it, but I think all of us would disagree. Stroud hasn't been that bad. The offensive line has been atrocious. Great call out, AK. Great call out. Love the participation this stream, AK. It's appreciated, and I like the community interaction. I really do. And by the way, like I said, guys, I would hope that Teddy's trolling. I would sincerely hope that nobody actually believes that at this point. But my point is, not my point, completely separate. I will have membership soon. And like I said, hopefully you guys join, and there will be member chats. It's going to be a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. And the plan is to have more live streams. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the live streams. Right now we're doing 1 a week during the season. Plan to do more in the off season for sure. And yeah, we're going to do more live streams, and love the content analysis, says Gravy. Appreciate it. I think Jalen Hurts is Mahomes' biggest sleeper rival. What do you think? I don't think so. I don't think so. They played in the Super Bowl, but Jalen Hurts is hot and cold by every definition. He is way too cold at times. I mean, last night's game was brutal from him at the start. It was brutal. Mingo deal shows out of touch how Jerry Jones is. I could not agree more. Bucks fans lucky this week that I didn't pick against them. Yeah, I know my rivalry with the Bucks with Bucks fans. Out of all franchises to hate, the Bucks, that's just they're at the top of my list, man. I can't get over it. They have a bye week. They might lose to the bye week. That is actually a hilarious thing within the lives, is me hating the Bucks. I think you're sleeping on Jalen due to his slump, but I think that he's more playoff capable than Lamar. I would say sleeping on Jalen. He's definitely slumping for sure. I don't know. I like Jalen, but it's just there's times where Jalen plays like an MVP, and there's times where he just plays like a quarterback 25. And I think it's more variant than the other like elite of elite quarterbacks. That's kind of my thing with Jalen Hurts. All right, let's see here. I'm so old that you look like a 15-year-old. Humans are evolving quickly. Look, I got right now, I don't think you can see it on camera. Oh, you might be able to see it. I got like a couple chin hairs right here. So we got it growing. This is like 2 or 3, not 2 or probably like 3 weeks here. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, yeah, we're getting there. Let's see here. Did I ever go over Andrew Luck tape? I saw you ask about this earlier, Ryan. I had the channel, like, it's a long story with the channel. Whenever Andrew Luck retired, which was in 2019, I was just really getting started. So that kind of answers that. Let's see here. Speedy9313, appreciate it. Let's see here. In the rafters doing the solar flare. Wait, what is this? Krillin is in the rafters. I don't understand the super chat. What is Krillin is in the rafters doing the solar flare? Am I missing something? Am I like out of touch here on what Krillin is? There's a chance I am. Krillin is a fictional character. Okay, Krillin is from Dragon Ball. Okay, doing the solar flare, it's legit. Okay, that's what I was. That's what I was out of touch on. Sorry, it's the sunlight joke. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was out of touch on that one. Sorry about that one. No, it is definitely a problem. That whole thing is just the Cowboys having sunlight problems this year summarizes their season. That is just the 2024 Cowboys. And then also I do appreciate the super chat, Speedy9313. I apologize I didn't get the reference. But that summarizes their season. Although I've never been to the Cowboys Stadium, I do want to get there. But I'm glad you enjoyed me not knowing what the reference was. And yes, good call. Golden Sharks on the response. Kalechi made a Vikings fan. What made me a Vikings fan? My old man was a Vikings fan, and then Golden Sharks replied that my dad was a Vikings fan. Yes, my old man, Vikings fan. I just made the decision when I was 6 years old that I was going to be a Vikings fan, and yeah, stuck through for 20 years. So that's where we are. That is where we are. Let's see here. What do I think of Ashton Genty as a college prospect? I love him. He's just an easy evaluation. I watch him, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, by the way, Football Analysis on Twitter, recommend going to follow if you are on Twitter or X. I will tweet out clips whenever I am watching players, and I was watching. I mean, I've watched obviously a lot of his games live, and I've watched a couple of his games on tape as the season has gone on, just to kind of reaffirm what I'm seeing as the games play out. He is an easy evaluation. He is so good. He should be a first round pick. I don't say that about a lot of running backs. He should be a first round pick. He's great. And if he goes to a situation like the Vikings where you have all the guys, and if Vikings, can upgrade the offensive line a little bit in free agency with somebody like Trey Smith, I would really like where the Vikings are. So, Ashton Genty going to be great, and I like him a lot. He is such an entertaining player. He is. He's a beast, man. There's not a lot to say. Stroud City Productions, big fan. I appreciate it. Oh, you DM me on Twitter. What's up, man? I know who. Yeah, you DM me. You do DM me on Stroud City. I know who you are. Appreciate the support. Thoughts on Jalen Carter's development? He's an animal. The evaluation with Jalen Carter was never on the field. On the field, he was always a beast. He was always fine. He was an animal. Is an animal. Let's see here. Adam Schefter said Kyle Hamilton is playing. Good call. I have the notifications on. Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Tight end Isaiah Likely off Baltimore's injury report. Okay, good to know. I did say that earlier during their preview, but the Steelers still do have Highsmith out, so that is worth noting. All right, you might be the only Vikings. Oh, AK, you're a Packers fan. Come on now. All right. It's a tough one, AK. It's a tough one. Weird year for quarterback prospects in college. It definitely is. I will say I am a Drew Aller fan. I'm also a Penn State fan, but I do think Drew he's a developmental project. I like what I see from him on Saturdays. He progresses through his reads. I think he has, I don't want to say sneaky athleticism, but he's more athletic than you think. And to be honest, Drew Aller reminds me a lot of a young Big Ben. He's obviously a huge quarterback. He has a good arm. He is a tough player to bring down. He is more athletic than you think. Hopefully he doesn't, gain 50 pounds over the course of his career like Ben did. But the point is, I think Drew Aller is a guy that teams should invest in. He's only, I'm going to say 21. I think he'll be 22 at the draft. I like Drew Aller a lot. All right. Marlon Humphrey is the most underrated quarter. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate the super chat, Soul. I am a big Marlon fan. I actually also really like listening to Marlon's podcast. It's called like Punchline or something. I really do like Marlon a lot. I enjoy it. And also, if you follow Marlon live, or if you follow him on Instagram, he does Instagram lives after games. I like Marlon. Great personality, great player. And I really, really enjoy watching him play. I think he's a really good player. All right. But that is going to wrap up today's live. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you did, like I said, please drop a like. We're at 147. Before we get off the live, can we get that to 160? Maybe, hopefully, please. But that's going to wrap up today's live. Like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed and appreciate everyone being in here. Not right now because the live chat's still going on, but maybe drop a prediction after the stream. Picks 17 through 32 grades will be out tomorrow. Be on the lookout for that. It will be released 10 a.m. Eastern, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Hey, you have a great day as well, AK. And like I said, memberships will be live soon, so hopefully you guys, if you are inclined, if you can, join memberships. We're going to be doing more membership exclusive lives, but that'll be within the next couple of weeks. Brandon, don't know about the comment, but